Project Erebus is the official name, and I believe it is the public's right to know of the creature that has entered our world. My team and I do not have a title, but I would refer to us as government contractors. Our primary objective is to study unexplainable phenomena and report it back to the federal government. We set up wherever we're needed. Our current team resides inside an underground bunker just outside of Yellowstone National Park. You can search all you want, but I guarantee you will not be able to locate it. And it's better that you do not. The location of the creature was discovered 1 year ago by local hikers, a young married couple. The names have been removed from all public records. Since then, the government's focus has been on reinforcing construction of the underground facility, containment of the creature, and studying it as much as possible. The two hikers were led to the dwelling when they followed a trail of animal carcasses. The trail stretched several hundred yards and eventually led to a cave opening between two large pine trees. The hole was described as a perfect circle, about 10 feet in diameter. The discovery was reported when the husband made a distress call to local park rangers. His wife claimed she smelled, quote unquote, the sweetest aroma coming from inside the subterranean lair. As the husband attempted to remove her from the area, she reportedly became violent and hysteric. Escaping from his grip, she sprinted into the hole, turned to smile at her partner, and gracefully fell backwards into the darkness of the cave. The husband reportedly ran forward and heard his wife's body hit the cave floor after a few moments. It was a 40-foot drop from the cave's opening. The husband stated he heard the sound of hoarse laughter coming from the cave below. The woman's remains were never located. When the feds were notified, we were called in to help with the containment. We received an initial briefing that depicted a horrifying creature dwelling in the cave. Thus began construction of the bunker and containment process. The creature we've been dealing with is far more sinister in nature than anything I've ever seen or studied. My only solid conclusion is that the being is otherworldly. Whatever it is invisible to all video recordings, both digital and film. The live footage shows the cave is completely empty and all recorded files are corrupted. We are unable to study it from a distance. Containing the beast was nearly impossible. We eventually trapped it by sealing the entrance the aforementioned hiker fell in. Our team then drilled our own opening and barricaded it with a steel blast door. There are only a few humans who have seen it with a naked eye. A retired captain known as Walsh was the first. It was my first day on Project Erebus when we lost him. Equipped with his 9mm sidearm, Walsh entered the cave around 6 AM on Monday morning, and the massive steel door was quickly shut behind him. He immediately began to complain of the heat, claiming the temperature was unbearable. The facility's thermometer showed the cave at only 55 Fahrenheit. His complaints of the heat were followed by several minutes of silence. Walsh's voice boomed out of the intercom speakers. "Let us out! How can you people be so blind?" Looking at the monitor, we saw nothing but an empty cave, but Walsh could obviously see something. We spoke into the receiver. "Walsh, what is it? Tell us what you see." He hissed a response. "Worthless swine, all of you. Let us out." Our team looked around in a state of confusion and panic. Walsh was staring directly at the center of the cave as the interior lights rapidly strobed. For a moment, the creature showed itself for the first time on film. I saw the outline of a dark, humanoid being sitting on the ground, cross-legged, with one hand in the air and the other resting at its side in the Baphomet pose. Walsh began to move out of frame, back towards the entrance. The video feed cut out. Rapid whispers came through the speakers and sounded like 100 voices in unison. Our team sat in silence, waiting for something, anything. The silence was interrupted by 3 loud knocks from the other side of the steel blast door. A defense unit got into position, rifles aimed at the door as it was opened. To our relief, a seemingly unharmed Walsh crossed the threshold and stood in the open doorway. Our relief turned to horror. It was his eyes. I can still picture them, the image forever burned in my mind. His eyes were a blank canvas of white, absent of irises and pupils. 2 steady streams of blood ran from his tear ducts down his cheeks, creating 2 crimson puddles on the stone floor. He stood there, silent and unblinking. He was shocked, unsure of what to do or say. He broke the silence again. "It can smell us. It's hungry," he said in a whisper as he raised the pistol to his temple. It wasn't the shot that frightened me the most, or the explosion of gore that painted the walls behind him. What horrified me the most was the massive, jet-black, 3-fingered hand that pulled Walsh's lifeless corpse back into the cave just before the blast door was slammed shut. I will never forget the sound of his tearing flesh. All records of Walsh were deleted. Even a personal email chain between us was erased without my consent or knowledge. After the incident, nobody wanted to enter the cave. Many of us, myself included, tried to abandon the project. The officials told us that leaving the site would be considered treasonous and we would regret the decision. The feds decided to send in one of their own. I do not know his real name, but they referred to him as X. He was a middle-aged, muscular man with salt and pepper hair. By the way he carried himself, you could tell he was in charge and not to be messed with. Somebody in the room described him as unbreakable. Before he went in, we concluded that looking at the creature with a naked eye was too risky. We sent X in with carbon fiber protective glasses equipped with impenetrable plexiglass lenses. The blast doors opened and X confidently walked inside. As soon as we closed the door, we lost audio. We repeatedly tried to reach him, only to be met with static. An hour passed with no response. Panic grew in the facility as we waited, praying that we would not be chosen to go in after him. Just before we lost hope, a fury of knocks and screams came from the other side. We opened the door, and a ghost white X came crawling out. The unbreakable man was on the floor, screaming hysterically as he held his hands over his ears, as if he was protecting them from an unbearable noise. He repeatedly screamed, "Its name! He told me its name!" Medical staff raced to his side, attempting to settle him down. It was no use. He squirmed in agony until one of the doctors injected him with a sedative. It took 5 men to hold him still. I never saw X again, but the story of what happened to him spread around like a disease. His eardrums had somehow been completely removed while inside the cave. The feds brought in their top psychiatrist to analyze X. With his loss of hearing, the doctors reverted to writing questions on a small notepad for him to read. During the session, X got up and whispered the name of the creature into her ear. It is on record that the second X whispered the name, he instantly lost the ability to speak, and the psychiatrist appeared to enter a trance state. Both were found dead the next day, hanging from the rafters of their individual rooms. From the evidence we have gathered, the creature seems to be stealing human senses. The hiker's sense of smell, Walsh's sight, and X's hearing. The reason I am telling this story to the world is because I genuinely believe it is too late. 3 more caves have been discovered, all with 10-foot openings and a trail of dead animals leading to them. We have no idea how many more there are.